Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee meeting. Thanks for attending. Let's just start with in-person introductions of the committee members. So Jonathan, can we start at your end? And we have a couple alternates today.
Sure. Good evening, Jonathan Forbes, member at large.
Brenton Mosher, University of South Florida.
Dan Rodriguez, Hillsborough Transit Authority.
Sophia Garantiva, Planning Commission.
Ben Gordon, PPO liaison.
David Ellsworth, member at large.
John Marsh, City of Tampa Transportation. I'm taking over for Tim.
Len Watson, Environmental Protection Commission, Hillsborough County.
Sally Thompson, member at large.
Danny Collins with the Planning Commission.
Evan Fifty, Hillsborough County, Community and Infrastructure Planning Department.
Thanks for coming. Any of our guests in the
Rick Jones, Haskell Company.
Valerie C. Gabrielle with the Blair Group. Brandy Nicholas with the Haskell Company. Dina Mavilos in the Tampa Mobility Department.
Sarah Dog, I'm Sarah Tampa.
Great. Okay, well, thanks for coming, everyone. We're going to move on to roll call. I understand we're doing it maybe differently with the sign-in sheet, but I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, Gil, it's just, we're just having people just sign in with their initials from here on out, right?
Yeah.
Yes, please. And we'll put it by the nameplate so that when you pick up your nameplate, you can just sign in right there.
Okay. Do we need to do attendance for virtual then, Gail?
You do have virtual attendees. If you would like to have them introduce themselves, they can unmute.
Yeah, please do. Since we're not doing roll call, normally we kind of serve that with roll call.
Oh, can you say it one more time? I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. If any virtual attendees want to introduce themselves, please do.
Brent
my name
Buffington,
is-
Harris,
Go ahead, Brent.
What?
Sorry, we were both speaking at the same time. My name is Brian Knox. I'm with the City of Tampa City Planning Department.
Brent Buffington, City of Temple Terrace, BPAC.
Jensen
Peter
Hackett.
Hillsborough
Is that it? All right.
Yeah, so, do we have, I'm sorry, Danny, I forgot you're not an alternate there. So, how many people do we have?
We
Nine.
have a quorum.
So we have quorum.
Yeah,
You have 10 in person.
Okay, so we do have quorum. Thanks for making it. Okay, let's move on to anything else?
yeah, are you an alternate? I'm so sorry.
Chris Federhoff, Community and
Yes, okay, perfect. Yeah, I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just paranoid today. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so you're good with quorum? Okay, thanks. Let's move on to public comment. Anyone want to make public comment?
I have a few updates from Chris on behalf of Chris.
Okay, if you want, we can save that we kind of have a standing spot for him in new business. And then, so that'd be great.
Yeah, sure.
So any public comment from none? Okay, being none, then we'll move on to members' interest in future topic requests. So any of those?
The FDOT and USF have started to do education for the new pedestrian hybrid beacon crossings on Bush Boulevard at 18th Street and just east of 22nd Street. We are going to be developing an online kind of survey, and so I will share that with the group. That would.
Thanks, Brent. Anything else? I have a couple, if there aren't any more. Well, one is I forgot to remind us of our mission when I opened the meeting. So just a reminder, our mission is to make Hillsborough County a safer and more pleasurable place to bicycle and walk. And then two things I had from a conversation with Emily Hinsdale with Sidewalk Stoppers. So she kind of had two requests. I think these will probably both be brought to the committee at some point in the future, but I just wanted to kind of plant a seed. One of them, and she spoke last year, if you remember, at World Car Free Day, they do a kiddical mass ride. So since we're, it's kind of a kids activity associated. So it's kind of an escorted ride through downtown. Last year they had challenges mostly crossing Cass Street. I think they like blocked traffic for like 20 minutes and it was a bit of a, they weren't everyone's friend that day. So they're trying to break it up into smaller groups. That's kind of phased so it's less disruption to traffic. So they're going to need more volunteers this year. So something to think about. The event is September 20th. She's probably going to come and present at our August meeting if that works for her. So more on that later. The other one was a request. So as sidewalk stompers, they get requests from like mostly elementary school PTAs to do these bike rodeos where they kind of train kids that are biking to school on how to do it safely, things to, be careful about, handling traffic conflicts and people backing out of driveways and stuff. And Sidewalk Stompers doesn't have the resources to put these on. They generally kind of look to some other organizations do, including Tampa PD. And I think there's a few organizations that can do it, but it rotates around and their availability is, changes. So she's looking for volunteers and also potentially interest from the TPO itself to kind of be a sponsor of these. So that's going to be another thing that we discuss. There will be a need for volunteers for that, even if it's done outside of the TPO. We're trying to, might be something that we can organize under the TPO, and it would make sense in this case. So again, just two things to think about. We can also discuss that one more, I think, at our workshop next month if we have time. All right. Any other? Yeah, John.
Question, Dave. You said World Car Free Day is the 20th or the 21st?
I have the 20th on my calendar, but don't hold me to that.
That's a Saturday.
That's it. Is it normally on a Saturday or Sunday?
I think nobody else.
Okay, so it might be the 21st. Yeah.
Right.
So sorry, when I actually did Google it last night and it said it was the 22nd, which I know is wrong because that's like a Monday or Tuesday. But I didn't actually go to their website and anyway, it's on my calendar as the 20th, but we'll see. So thanks for that. That date might be wrong. Emily will correct us when she comes back in August. But thanks, Jonathan. Okay. Anything else? Okay. So next we're going to move on to approval of minutes. So they were distributed. Were there any corrections to the minutes? All right. Being none, can I get a motion to approve?
Watson, I'll make a motion to approve minutes.
Is there a second?
Jonathan Forbes, I'll second.
Thanks, John. Okay. All those in favor of approving the minutes, just show of hands would be fine. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Minutes are approved. I did have a question from when I read the agenda packet, and there was a couple links on here to the Hillsborough County SharePoint site that did not work for me. I was wondering, is that my personal technical problem, or did other people like the TPO, the meeting summary link, and actually even the Haskell slides tonight were.
We've had those problems. I didn't check, but we've had those problems in the past on other
Okay.
meetings. So.
Okay, well, I'll work on that offline. I was just curious if it was my personal problem, or if it was something that I can work with Ben on. So, okay, thanks. So, okay, we're gonna move to action items. We only have one tonight, and that is, election of our vice chair vacancy since Tim is left.
Absolutely. So, you've heard it from David already. We have a vacancy with Tim's departure from BPAC. Anyone on the committee is a big stand for it. Is there anybody who is interested, just off the top of their head? It's not urgent, doesn't have to be done right away. It's just worth keeping on your radar.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing we're looking for is someone to fill in if I can't make a meeting. I don't have any planned absences this year, but obviously things can come up. John is our officer at large, who's kind of that's always an option as well, but I know John has a bit of a commute to get to these meetings, so.
Yeah.
All right, but
Might I suggest?
Yes.
that it looks like we also have some at-large membership applications, so we're gonna expand some opportunities there. Maybe we readdress this at that time. Because you have more folks in.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if there's no nominations and no volunteers, then we're not saying we can have an election tonight. But I'd ask everyone to consider it. It's not,
Yeah.
especially people who are regular attendees. There's no work outside of meetings or anything like that. You just have to be ready to.
And I believe that there's a change moving forward where if both the chair and officer at large are all missing, the liaison can facilitate.
There we go.
So, yeah, I'm not sure if that's in effect yet, but
Okay.
it'll be fine.
Okay. All right, thank you. Well, please consider that and, and let Ben or I know, to streamline the next meeting if anyone's interested. And we can also talk to John. He may be interested in the vice chair role, but maybe not, because like I said, he doesn't have an easy commute, so he's often late, even if he can make it. So, okay, then we will move on to status reports. Our first one is Brian Knox, the city of Tampa. Brian, you can hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hey, okay, what's your thing?
Make you present your line.
All right. I'm just going to share my screen. Give me a second. Let me set everything up. All righty. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, sir.
All righty. Fantastic. All right. My name is Brian Knox. I'm in the city planning department, and I'm responsible for managing a project called Trees for Tampa. I'll get into a little bit about how we got to the project called Trees for Tampa. But first, I wanted to go over my outline, which basically details a few. It details a few things that we did that led to us ultimately getting to Trees for Tampa. And so part of that was parts of our ecological analysis, which includes the canopy change analysis and some of the other components that you see on the outline, but also it includes our urban forest management plan as well. And so just a little bit of background in addition to, how Trees for Tampa was created. It was created by the Sustainability and Resiliency Department, and the City Planning Department is managing it. And I'm the primary manager for this project. And part of that is because in the City Planning Department, I am the Senior Forester Examiner, so I'm responsible for a lot of the review for environmental issues and tree-related issues when it comes to either city-related large-scale reviews or any sort of policy-based decisions that we have here. And so, and as I mentioned earlier, so like Trees for Tampa began out of the ecological analysis. We've been doing our analysis since 2006, which means we have some pretty sufficient data in terms of like what's going on with our canopy. And this is the primary document that provides that reporting. If you've seen any sort of news article or any sort of anything on news that relates to like the city of Tampa's canopy, it likely came from one of these documents. Since we've been doing it for so long, we can do things like a comparative analysis, and also we can make some really good informed decisions given the historical information that we have. As you can see, based on the dates, it's been updated every 5 years. The cutoff date is the date where we stop doing the analysis, but usually the document comes out a few years after that cutoff date. And so once we started collecting data for the ecological analysis, we decided, well, we need a plan of action for how to address some of the concerns that we discovered through the analysis. And that's when we came up with the Urban Forest Management Plan in 2013. what it does is it takes the information, parts of the information from the analysis, and it provides recommendations and plans of action through action items through in the management plan. And so based on those action items, they're intended to uh, increase the increase the overall canopy, but also move us closer towards our goals. And since it is an adaptive management plan, it allows us to make changes if whatever the action item is working sufficiently or not. We have two committees that help drive the management plan. One is the Natural Resources Advisory Committee, which is a committee of neighborhood representatives and qualified professionals that make recommendations for the action items that we have in the management plan. And it also, that group talks to the internal technical working group that is within the city of Tampa, that takes those recommendations and makes the decision of whether or not we can actually do what is being suggested by the Natural Resources Advisory Committee. And so switching back to the urban forest analysis, like I mentioned before, it's a 5-year assessment of how our canopy is changing. It also addresses how we are doing to meet our tree canopy goals. And also, like I said, it provides that historical information, but it also includes other things such as our urban forest health, the distribution of our urban forests, the species, the top 10 species that are in the city of Tampa and the economic benefits that they provide. In this last analysis that we did, we were able to do a social survey to get feedback from citizens on what they would like to see from the city of Tampa in terms of our tree canopy, and also areas where we can improve. And so we got over 1,100 responses from citizens within the city limits of Tampa. And they gave us some really good feedback, and we put that information into the latest analysis. We also added urban heat maps, which I will talk about later. And that's been pretty effective in helping us make the decisions for the projects that we have today for Trees for Tampa. And also like an analysis of environmental equity. And within that, another part of the analysis that became pretty important over time is potential locations for tree plantings, which is another big part of the Trees for Tampa project. And so, as I mentioned earlier, we looked at urban heat islands and canopy coverage. We looked at them separately, but naturally, when you start to look at some of the data, you start to make some comparisons. And this is one that was pretty quick and easy for us to make a determination on. And so that was urban heat islands and canopy coverage. And so we looked at areas around the city of Tampa, and we looked at median land surface temperature, and we were looking at which areas in the city of Tampa are the hottest and what is the percentage of tree canopy. And naturally, there was an inverse relationship. The hotter the land surface temperature, the less likely there was a high percent of tree canopy. Whereas it's the same situation in, as you can see, New Tampa, there's low median land surface temperatures, pretty high tree canopy. And so that was one of the things that we looked at and said that may be something that we need to focus on, given what the next slide indicates. And so we did studies starting in 2006 with our analysis that looked at tree canopy coverage change over time using GIS, and we were actually able to go back to as early as 1948 to look at what the tree canopy coverage looked like in starting then. And so we noticed that one of our peak years was right around 2011, and then after that, 2011 during the analysis, and then right after that, we started to encounter declines over the next 10 years with our analysis. And so when we looked at that, we were we were thinking it's like, okay, we're starting to run into a trend where we're losing canopy for a multitude of reasons. And some of those reasons will show up in our tree planting projects. But yeah, it really, this graph has probably been one of the more commonly referred to in our analysis in terms of information that needs to get out to residents. And so from this information, we started to look at potential planting sites. And so we started by just saying, where is green space in the city of Tampa? And of course, we excluded MacDill Air Force Base and also Tampa International. And we started to look at areas around the city where there's a potential to plant trees. And so what we started to do from there is try to make more informed decisions and narrow down the scope even more. And we ultimately decided to go with street tree plantings. And one of the reasons why we chose street tree plantings is even though we have the majority of our green space is on private property, the street tree plantings gave us a little bit more flexibility for getting tree plantings to start our tree planting projects quicker. And so once again, we contacted our USF and their GIS department to create just rough areas of where there's space within the right of way to plant. And so from there, we started to focus on what type of funding could we receive for planting trees in public spaces. And so initially, during the previous administration, there was the Inflation Reduction Act, and and for the first time in history, about $2.5 billion was dedicated to urban forestry, which is a really rare thing. And it's a thing that we always talked about. And then it finally happened. And so when we applied, the city of Tampa was awarded $1 million as a pass-through grant through the Arbor Day Foundation. And then this year, as we were going and creating the project that we were developing using the parameters of the Inflation Reduction Act, such as focusing on environmental justice area census tracts and areas where canopy was the most efficient. The project was ultimately defunded in February of 2025. But given that we had provided enough information to the citizens and also to the administration felt that it was important to continue this project and move forward using alternative sources to fund it. And so from there, we started to create our overall tree planting goals. And so some of those tree planting goals were based on the previous iteration of the project. And those included just increasing the number of City of Tampa's tree planting efforts. And so we wanted to do that because we wanted to create something that aligned with the mayor's T3 initiatives. But we also wanted to create something that was basically beyond the current administration's goals. And so what we started to do there is look at what sort of projects we can create that will be long and sustaining beyond just this one project. And so we also wanted to address some of the canopy loss by increasing public tree plantings. And we wanted to make sure we did that because of how I mentioned earlier, that we can focus on the street tree plantings, start to get those plantings out earlier and faster than private property tree plantings. We also wanted to increase our the cooling of our urban corridors. So we wanted to strategically plant trees in areas also where there was some level of pedestrian influence. And so we have some of those projects included in this Trees for Tampa program that we have. And one of the things that we also wanted to scale is our maintenance resources. And that was something that we were really struggling with when we were planting trees, is what does the maintenance look like? And sometimes that maintenance ended up being more expensive than just planting the tree. And so if we can start to create the projects where we can show that maintenance is just important as the planting, the funding will hopefully continue and also be a part of the rest of our tree plantings throughout. And also, we wanted to create this to strive for larger goals. As you saw in the slide, the previous slides, our um, tree canopy has moved towards an estimated 30%. And science shows that right around 30% is where you have tree cover for good biological diversity. And also, it creates a lot of um, health benefits for citizens. And so from there, we created this logo, we created Trees for Tampa, and now I can get into what exactly Trees for Tampa is. And so we branded it Trees for Tampa. It's a departmental effort that is designed to increase tree planting, and it's a approach that we're using in different formats to try to not only target public street tree plantings, but also in some cases private property street tree plantings. And so one of the projects that was created was the mayor's tree giveaway. And so every year around Arbor Day, we give away about 500 to 1,000 trees per year for residents to plant on private property. Those trees are typically given away, and and we provide instructions for the resident or the homeowner to plant the trees on their property. Um, and this has also been a pretty good effort to kind of educate citizens even more so about trees. This past year, we focused on native trees and trees that had high wind resistance. And so it was a really successful giveaway. Uh, we gave away a considerable amount of trees, over 500, and and yeah, it's been going on for about 4 years, and it's been a really good project that was started. This one is probably the most recent project that we've created. It's called Plant Your Heart Out Tampa, and it's very similar to Paint Your Heart Out. It's a tree planting program, and currently it's funded by Suncoast Credit Union. And the program provides trees to be planted on private property, but it does require community buy-in. So the way the program works is that um, the citizens can get together with the rest of their community and um, decide where they would like to see trees on their private property. And so typically with this program, we see roughly about 10 trees as the minimum requirement for the tree planting to occur. Um, you can sign up for this program through our Trees for Tampa website. So if you're if you go to the city's website, you can just type in Trees for Tampa and it'll get you there. Or you can just type in Trees for Tampa just on a general search engine, and it should get you there pretty quickly. And one of our most successful projects is the Trees for Tampa, Tremendous Tampa project. This is a long-running project that we've had where in the past you used to be able to receive up to 2 trees per property and to be planted in the right of way, but now you can receive up to 5 trees in the right of way. And it's a really good program that we want to model additional programs on. And the reason why this program has been so successful is that it's a very high touch sort of program where the tree planting team will come out and they will talk to you about what tree you will receive, what's the watering cycle for that tree, and also what sort of maintenance and care that you would need to provide for that tree. This one's managed by the Parks Forestry Department, and it has a very high success rate for our tree plantings. It's over 90%. And so the last program, which is one of our larger attempts to get as many trees in the ground as possible, is planting in public spaces. And this one's a direct offshoot from the information that we received from the analysis. And so what we did is we looked at how can we scale up our operations where we can get as many trees planned to be planted in the ground as possible. So what we did is we picked 4 firms to draft landscape plans for us in various places around the city. And what we intend to do with that information is have a contractor come in and plant those trees. But before any of that happens, we have workshops, we have meetings, and we have lots of discussions, especially in residential areas. And so the bulk of our time is going towards this project because it gives us the most volume of trees to be planted in the city. And so just to give you a little bit of how we got to the strategy for this, for that project, planting in public spaces, we wanted to look at areas where it just met the priority for easy tree plantings. And so we kept the information about the environmental vulnerable areas in the Justice 40 initiative. But going back to the analysis, we put a key focus on areas with high urban heat island effect and low canopy coverage. And that area that we were primarily targeting at this point is the central Tampa planning district area. And we were also looking at any city parcels that are low priority in terms of development, or they're just simply not usable for whatever reason. We also looked at stormwater ponds, city-owned streets, and we've looked at fire stations as well as as well as golf courses as a way to kind of increase the city of Tampa's canopy. And through all of the tree plantings, we're creating our ArcGIS online map system where we can field inventory our trees to keep account of how many trees are out there and also to be able to maintain them better. As I mentioned earlier, we've hosted a number of workshops and meetings with neighborhoods. Our first meeting was in April at J.C. Newman for the Ebor projects, and after that we did McFarland Park, and then we followed that up with the Ridgewood Neighborhood Association. And so here's a full list of all of the neighborhoods that neighborhoods and areas that we're focusing on for the planting in public spaces project. Likely the first ones to get off the ground are the ones that are more public facing, such as the Davis Island Trail and Nuccio Parkway. Those 2 projects are currently at 60%. And so we are looking to start planting with those probably around late fall, early winter. And so before I conclude my presentation, I did mention the Natural Resources Advisory Committee, and I want to take the opportunity to let you know that we're looking for candidates to fill positions for that Natural Resources Advisory Committee. So if you know someone that's interested in being a part of shaping the city of Tampa's tree canopy, please advise them to join our group. In the past, this was the steering committee that helped draft the management plan. We're looking to do the same for the updates. And there's a variety of positions that we're looking for. I mentioned earlier neighborhood representatives, but we're also looking for a certified arborist. We're looking for a landscape architect. We're looking for engineers, professional scientists. We're looking for real estate professionals and developers. And so that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, beyond questions at this meeting, you can reach out to me at this email address. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Are there any questions for Brian? Okay, yeah, thanks again.
You're welcome.
We are going to move on.
I can't get into the link, so I just tried to get it.
Oh, the same link.
Presentation.
Yeah, so Ben and I, thanks for checking this out. Yeah, Ben and I will look at what's going on.
Let me ask Brian a quick question.
Sure.
Brian, I believe you've worked with Hyde Park Preservation, haven't you?
I have worked with them in maybe a capital improvement project capacity.
I know that we have something in my neighborhood where trees are they're able to get trees at a discount or something. I thought that was through the city.
Oh, I think there was a person that was spearheading that.
Guy named
for
Harold Walker.
Harold Walker,
Yeah, he
yes.
passed away suddenly, so that was.
Yeah, he was one of our tree giants in that area, and he did a fantastic job of assisting the city with being a broker between procuring trees and having them planted in the right of way. I think they were like 4-inch live oaks, and he did a fantastic job of helping the city get trees into the ground.
But that wasn't part of this particular project?
No, it was not a part
Okay.
of the project, but it was loosely connected with the Tremendous program.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thanks. Yeah, let's move on. I think we're running a little bit behind and we have a lot of topics still. So the next status report is from Hillsborough County on crash dashboard. Mama, are you online?
I'm here.
Oh, you're here. Sorry.
You're good.
Thank you.
Can I use my computer?
I think it would be best because we want to be able to share your screen for that, right? I will, yeah, I have the link. And send it again. If you try to present with
I'll
that,
join and share myself.
oh yeah, just keep it muted, so.
Just go ahead.
Okay. I'll just pull it up, here's the background. Yeah, I can try.
Hello again, my name is Lama Al-Fassi. I'm with the Community and Infrastructure Planning Department, Hillsborough County. We all know that safety is a priority for Hillsborough County, like other local governments in Florida and other states. Therefore, my department collaborated with the University of Florida, the keeper of Signal 4, which is the official crash data, developed the safety dashboard. Before I will start navigating the dashboard, I'd like to share with you a brief overview. This dashboard focuses on fatal and incapacitating crashes at intersections or in the influence area of intersections. In other words, it focuses on crashes within a radius of 300 feet from intersections in unincorporated Hillsborough County. This dashboard allows for analyzing crash data at different levels of resolution. I'm gonna explore with you the options and capabilities of this dashboard. Let's get started. So this is the main page of the dashboard. The first thing is we should choose the years we're interested in. Let's say select all. And it's important to know that the dashboard goes back to year 2012 to date. And interesting fact is that it updates automatically from Signet 4. This is part of the collaboration with the University of Florida, which is the keeper of the data. So here we have fatal and severe injuries or crashes, or incapacitating in other words. And here we have number of fatalities, and here we have number of incapacitating or severe injuries. And a very important note here is that if we add number of fatalities and number of severe injuries, we're going to get a higher number than what we have fatal, incapacitating, or severe crashes. And the reason for that is that in one incident of a fatal crash or incapacitating crash, there could be more than one fatality or more than one severe or incapacitating injury. And here we have the associated number of crashes involving bicyclists that you'd be interested in, and all crashes involving pedestrians for the period that, or the years we chose here. A very important and interesting capability of this dashboard is that it categorizes or groups crashes based on roadway ownership. So here we can see state-to-state roads, the crashes of that category, and we also have county-to-county roads. We have county-to-state roads and county to other roads throughout the years. On the right side here, we see an interactive heat map where we can zoom in, zoom out, see critical locations or intersections. So this is an interactive map. You can zoom in and out, or from your mouse, you can scroll in and out. Let's say if we're interested in getting more information or to see the data at a higher level of resolution and look at county-to-county roadways. I'm going to click on details, view details. This is what we're going to get. So here we still have the years we chose initially, and here we have an added factor that is road ownership county-to-county. Here we see the associated numbers, and here we have county-wide numbers throughout the years, and here we have another layer of resolution where fatal and incapacitating crashes are categorized based on the region. As you can see here, we have northwest, we have central, and we have south of the county. And here we have the related statistics throughout the years. Let's say, before I move forward, I'm going to show you something. If we zoom in, this is also an interactive map. If we zoom in and we're interested in a specific location and we want to see how many crashes, let's say, fatal incapacitating happened at this location, we're going to be able to see that there have been 8 fatal incapacitating crashes, 11 incapacitating injuries, and none bicyclists or pedestrian involved in that in those incidents. If we want to zoom in and even get more details on crashes, let's say south of the county. Let's say south of the county. If we click here, view south details, you're gonna get more information, statistical information about crash types for our selections for the years we selected, roadway ownership we selected, and region. And this is the region. If we zoom in, this is also an interactive map where we can zoom in and out to see and identify critical locations. These are crash types. They're, let's say, bicycle, head, left, off, and so on and so forth. If you want more details on those crash types, you can click on the help question mark here. You're going to get the description of every crash type and overview of the tool. Here there is an arrow where you can go back to your selection, and you can make any changes you want. Again, I just want to show you something here. If you click here on the years, this is here we selected all of the years. Let's say we want to select only 2 years. We're going to unselect, let's say I'm interested in 2 years, 2024 and 2023. You will need to press Control if you're selecting more than 1 year. Once you select the years, you're going to have the data. As you can see, numbers have reduced significantly. And if you look here at the title, you're going to see the selected years. Here are the related numbers. If you're interested in, let's say, county to state, you click on details. You're going to get also crashes or incidents are distributed and categorized based on the region. You can click further, let's say central. You're going to get crash types of these 2 years that you selected initially or we selected initially. And this is the related heat map. This is a very brief overview of the dashboard. If you have any questions, please feel free.
How do we get to that dashboard?
It is available online. Thank you for your question. It's available online. I sent the link to Ben. So if you don't mind, please share with everyone the link to the dashboard so they can navigate and check the capabilities of that dashboard.
Thank you. Very nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Can you filter it just on bike ped entries?
Not really. What we can do is, let's say if you're interested in, let's say you're interested in these 2 years, these are the numbers you're gonna get. You can, let's say if you're interested in a specific.
Specifically like a heat map, right? Like we say where are the more dangerous places? Or, I mean, obviously that's influenced by traffic counts as well.
Absolutely. So if you're interested in county to county roadways, you can select and view more details. But generally, if you're interested in identifying critical location, the heat map would be your to-go thing, but it's not going to be very, very specific.
But the heat map will include driver
Yeah.
injuries and fatalities, not just pedestrian bike, right? Am I?
Yeah, but it doesn't show specifically what crashes included. So if you look here at the dashboard, for the years we selected, you have the total number of fatal and incapacitating crashes. You have crashes involving bicyclists, you have crashes involving pedestrians, but they're not specified on the heat map.
Yeah.
So it will require a more detailed analysis.
Yeah, that would be a useful analysis, especially as we look at like, you know, we want to focus on area in parts of the high injury network, and to some degree, not that I don't, you know, I don't want anybody to be hurt, but if this group is more interested in injuries to, you know, dangerous areas for cyclists and pedestrians.
Absolutely. I think this will require pulling the data from Signal Corps,
Yep.
where you select bike and ped involvement in the criteria, and then you do your analysis.
Yep, okay.
David, if I may, so are there any plans, for instance, the 77 and the 140, if one were to click on those numbers with the, I think what you're asking is, would we then get a heat map there?
Right, something.
Because then we can see if it's intersectional or it's mid-block, we can see if there's a pattern there with mid-block crossings.
I wonder if you missed what I said in the beginning. So this dashboard focuses on fatal and incapacitating crashes in the influence area of intersections. In other words, it's 300 feet from intersections, in a radius of 300 feet from intersections. So mid-cross, I think they may not be included. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So this is focusing on intersection influence area, fatal and incapacitating crashes.
Will you be able to expand that filter then from 300, make it 300 to 1,000,
We can
stuff like that?
definitely, because this is coded in the
Yeah.
dashboard, this can definitely be done.
Yeah, because if you're getting it from the police report will have the distance from that intersection. So I guess you could just filter from feet.
Could be.
So a question about your data, can you export it from the dashboard or do you need to go through another means to get the data?
No, I don't think it's possible to export the data. You will need to export it from Signal Corps. Choose your period, your jurisdiction, criteria, and then pull from Signal Corps. I will double check with my colleagues.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions? Right, okay, we'll move on. Our next status report is on the West River Build project. So we have a few representatives from the Haskell company. So Fred, welcome.
You want to cue it up? Yeah, thank you guys so much for the opportunity to present. I'm Fred Jones with the Haskell Group. This is Nia Mario, who is our city project manager. Do you want to make any minor comments? I know you're so excited about this project. Yeah, before we get into the presentation, there is a little video as well that we'll play at the beginning of it.
Let's see, let me check the
Yeah,
audio.
make sure the audience is always. Shoot. I had this discussion earlier with somebody that says when you have it should just automatically play, and you have to do this if you don't want it to play. That's what they should.
It's, we've had with the, from,
There's a toggle somewhere.
Yes, I'm trying
That said,
to.
yeah, that said.
yeah, it's,
Play include the audio.
the audio is a challenge.
Yeah.
Right now.
You,
You'd think we'd write that down.
you would think that with the last couple of years of living on Teams, we would have an easier way to do this.
Fidelity. Spatial. It's not it, it's it.
Like it usually says there's include sounds.
Yeah.
You know how that you've been talking about? It might already play, but I just. Yeah, there's a video that's embedded in the slide. We just want to make sure that the audio plays.
I think that when you share.
Yeah, so it's in the deck itself. Okay. Yeah, if you stop sharing, then go to sharing.
Yeah, that's what I think we had to do before.
You what?
It's super intuitive, and especially when you're getting ready to do it, this is when we all like forget how to move the mouse.
You have to use the force.
He uses.
Awesome. It's not. It's. Oh, it's.
Well, interestingly enough, it looks like it's a PDF.
Yeah.
That's a new one. Thank you. So it may not play anyway because it's a PDF, but let's just go to the deck. It's a wonderful video.
Okay. Yeah, let's see how.
Tomorrow, will any of you folks meet tomorrow? We're having our public kickoff meeting at the Beulah Baptist Church at 6 p.m. So if you want to see the full video, then that's a great time. Also on our website, which I'll be sharing here on West Riverville, you'll be able to download that. We'll have the presentation. You can see everything as part of that experience as well.
I think the website link was in the agenda packet as well.
It was,
Everyone should have seen
so
that.
yeah, as long as we have that. Again, my name is Fred Jones. My background is in computer streets and urban design and bike ped stuff, so this is really near and dear to my heart. Wanted to introduce the other project team. This is Valerie Ciudad-Real from the Valerian Group. Does a lot of public engagement, Brandy Michaelis from the Haskell Company as well. And I mentioned Nina Mavios, our public, our project manager from the city side. Yeah, this is a nice little video, but I guess it's not going to play if it's in video. So I'll just run through the slide deck here. Can everybody hear me out there as well? Folks that are on, should be able to. Yeah,
This should.
yeah. Again, this is really a great story. It's a testament to the work that the city has been doing, especially in the Vision Zero space for the past couple of years. As you see here, this is the project map. This is really about creating legacy infrastructure for the city of Tampa. You guys all know what the East River Walk experience is like. So to be able to, ship across the river, greater Riverwalk experience, a bit different, but then also a series of continuous connected multimodal facilities that are low stress, that create this essential loop that's going to be 5.5 miles. It's a real game changer. And then ultimately, as part of this 12.5 mile, I think that's about the number, system of low stress multimodal facilities, basically a 12.5 mile greenway network. Some of our guiding principles in this was really, and this is a trademark term, continuity of experience. I know Tony Monk, who's in the Parks Department, talked about that a whole lot. And once we started hearing that in our discussions, we really said, like, this is really what this is about. It's about creating moments as you're, traversing through this trail, place-making opportunities that you're going to see as we showed through the slide deck. This is really a catalyst project for revitalization of the West Tampa area. We talk about Trees for Tampa. You're going to see that this project contributes a lot to that effort as well. As I mentioned, Vision Zero is near and dear to the project as well. It's all about getting ourselves off these lists that we've been on. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. Join the party. We know how to kill pedestrians and cyclists. It's horrible. It's a public health crisis. We've got to figure out ways to mitigate that. this is a critical piece of that as well. In order to really accelerate this project, we're doing it through an integrated design build delivery mechanism. We're at 60%. We're going back and forth right now on some of the design components, but we anticipate to start construction later this fall on the first segment. And we did talk a little bit about, which was a testament to the success of the grant, is equity, collaboration, and outreach. And really, how do we get those neighborhoods, those residents that have been in the West Tampa area? It's not that far distance-wise when you think about it to the river, but the infrastructure has been a huge barrier. And it is, I would imagine if we pulled up the previous gentleman's urban heat island map, we probably see Rome Avenue on that list as a place that's very hot with little shade. And so we're doing everything we can as part of this project to mitigate that. Just going to share some of these. These are really high-level images. This is our hero shot of Platt and Janus Park. A central part of this is to create a fully protected intersection, also known as a Dutch-style intersection at Platt and Bayshore. We see this as really like a key crossing point as you're coming eastbound on Platt Street to get into downtown or to access the river. So we figured this is a great opportunity to reimagine that intersection to be truly safe and connected. And the way it is right now, with the swooping geometries, the dedicated right-hand turn, it's not so safe crossing. So we're going to work to eliminate that, reworking some of the signal in that space. We know that there's going to be people that are probably a little bit upset from the south end of town that are used to being able to fly through there and make that dedicated right. But, we'll all live, and we want to make sure that we're getting people across safely. And again, underneath is going to have this pedestrian underpass there at Platt Street, which is going to be really amazing. This is just a high, zoomed in view of that intersection there. It has the islands out into the geometry. What it essentially does is it, kind of tightens up the intersection of the turning radii there and provides a protected space for cyclists and reduces that effective crossing distance that folks traverse as they get across the intersection. This is from down below, just kind of giving you a little bit of a perspective there. Imagine, you guys all know what it's like on the east side. So having this on this side is going to be great for folks that are on the other side of the river. This is just kind of a conceptual idea of, we talked about placemaking of how Janus Park could be. Like, again, right now it's this park. There's a lot of historical legacy. I think that was where one of the first aviation guys was from. Tony Janus flew a plane before the Wright brothers, I think. So again, we want to celebrate that. And so part of this too is going to have and obviously we're going to integrate the trail and the river walk through this park here. This is an opportunity in the future. Now this is going to be a place to be. So we imagine, events, programming, food trucks, tents, all that kind of stuff. Complete streets is a critical part of this project as well. As we know, a lot of the improvements are going to be on the corridors of Rome and Platt Street. So we know the city is a NACTO city. We wanted to infuse those design criteria. Everybody's familiar with NACTO, the National Association of City Transportation Officials. That guidance is integrated into the design plans for the roadway here, with the whole idea of really creating a low-stress environment, integrating some very innovative traffic calming features, as well as some placemaking as well, just to continue to support the Vision Zero program. We were just in NACTO at the conference 3 weeks ago, really saw some interesting things. We're thinking about some materials that we might use as part of this project in lieu of some of the other ones that we proposed just from that experience. So looking forward to the construction phase. This is Rome Avenue today. We talk about an area that really needs some improvement, enhancement. There's no shade trees. It's really not a very comfortable place to walk on the sidewalk. So this project is going to dramatically improve that. This just gives you kind of a rendering of the way the anticipated improvements will look, with the two-way cycle track integrated into a multi-use path. We'll have dedicated crossings and a number of street trees. I'll show the number of plantings we're going to have here, which I think you'll be very excited about. This, again, just an overhead view of the protected intersection at Platt and Bayshore.
The city.
A fully protect, I think, I don't know, unless you know of another one that's happening.
Oh, I just want to get trees at that.
Did I say it?
This room.
For this group, does anybody know of any, I would imagine this group before anyone would know if it was a fully protected intersection somewhere, but I think it's this Tampa's first. There's not a whole lot of them. I mean,
What does that mean?
so it's in other words, a fully protected intersection, so allows the cyclist and the pedestrian to have a refuge place. So see these islands? So what you do, if you kind of look at the way it is as it is current, you have that dedicated right-hand turn lane. You don't really, I mean, you have some high-distance crossings, but if you notice the islands that are at the corners of the intersection, that does two things. One, it provides a little bit of a safe refuge for the cyclist as they're getting ready to cross. It gives them some visibility to the drivers as they get ready to make the crossing in the approach to the intersection. And second, what it does is it reduces that turning radius for the vehicle. So right now, you know, if you don't have that, the vehicles can make those big white swooping right-hand turns. But at this, you're kind of tightening it up, forcing the driver to move a little bit slower as they're making those turning movements.
I'm getting a little confused. Which exactly are the islands?
So this is Bayshore and Platte.
Oh, I know what
Okay.
it is. I'm just trying to envision.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what.
So if you look on Bayshore, yeah.
That's Platt Street, going
Let's talk
right.
about these
Yeah.
features here.
Yeah.
Yes, Bay Shore Boulevard on the.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's southbound Bay Shore.
No. I see what it is, but I guess I don't know which, are the green things the islands?
So the green, that's the cycle.
So the white things are added.
Those are, yeah, elevated concrete islands.
Okay.
I think this group's used it in bump outs.
Yeah.
I beg your pardon?
We've used bump outs. It's kind of,
Yeah.
bump outs is kind of the vernacular,
Yeah.
like here at Kennedy and whatever this.
So you guys know, like right now, as you're out, you know, as the vehicles are coming, there's that dedicated right-hand turn that comes, you know, that's through here. So we're gonna eliminate that and push this real estate. So what that's gonna do is make this sort of a type, the vehicles are gonna have to make a full stop here. And before they can move here, because right now they're able to sort of go through there. So what this does is it really tightens up the turning radii. And then this is a two-way cycle track, so folks have a spot there to be a refuge, and it creates more visibility. The signal poles get relocated as well, but it tightens up.
Probably.
Yeah.
Like.
Maybe.
Well, there's not even, they call them Dutch stuff because they were originated in Amsterdam. Where all the cool stuff originates, you know, supposedly. Any
Yeah,
more
because
questions
today,
about
but yeah,
that?
because today there's no bike lane here.
No.
You have to get on the sidewalk at the parking
I
lot
know.
every year. Yeah, so this is outstanding.
Yes, but this is like a really, you know, like I say, this will be kind of a really unique node and a nice feature to build off of the complete streets and the protected bike lanes that are gonna be on Platt Street. I mentioned complete streets, tree planting. We talked about Trees for Tampa. Our intent here is to have 50 shade canopy trees, newly installed trees. I think the number was originally 35. Yeah, 25 is what it is, but the new numbers, once the understory is gonna have, so there's gonna be a total of 55. Yeah,
What kind of trees?
shade trees.
35 of them, or 25?
No, what kind
are
of shade trees?
That's.
Yeah, to be determined. They're not gonna be palm trees. I don't, you know, crepe
Are we
myrtles.
talking
Live oak or crepe myrtle?
That would be great.
Yeah, depends on their location, you know,
Yeah.
because we don't want the roots to
Yeah.
disturb the new path.
Well, live oak will, yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like I would, trust me, I love live oak. They're amazing, but yeah, you would always be out there dealing with the.
I got one right in front of my.
Yeah.
And there's understory trees because where there's overhead electric, we have to work with power company and.
And you don't want them chopping down
The type and size of trees at maturity that you can have on that side of the road.
But they're not gonna be 55 palm trees, which is, you know, important. You know, that doesn't give any benefit. So, yeah, that's the intent to have that going along the corridor where we have the multi-use path. The other key component of this project are the Riverwalk Trail and the living shorelines. This was also like a part of the success of winning the grant. You know, being resilient. This just kind of gives you a little bit of an overhead shot too of Tony Janice Park. We've got sort of a pedestrian lookout. This gives a little bit of just how those pedestrian bridges are going to be, cast in place. It's hard to tell from this scale. These are, some of the engineering sections. This section here is under the Rowing piece, Rowing Street Bridge.
And connects there
Yeah.
to the Arabelle apartments, where there's a small piece of existing.
Yeah, so the developer did a piece that's in front of that already, so we're gonna connect into that. This gives you a little bit of a perspective of just the trail design itself. The typical section, we're looking at 12-foot multi-use path, with some living shoreline. Here is just a shot at the University of Tampa. We know this is gonna be public access. We know the times of access is probably gonna be something that we talk about, because again, this is in front of the dorms, the women's dorm that's there. So we're looking at some set tech measures as well and some uplighting and everything. But again, how we control the access at certain times will be a little bit of something that we discuss as we go through the project with the University of Tampa. This is kind of a potential project that we're talking about as we connect into that brick plaza that's there at the foot of Kennedy Boulevard. There's that plant park that's already there. There's some brick work that will have to be done. The developer has agreed to create a space there for us to, a landing pad for us.
The developer on the south side of Kennedy Boulevard related group will be building this underpass under the Kennedy Boulevard Bridge and Land Park, which probably is subsequent to the completion part project, like a year after.
Here's a possible concept too, further to the north. We talked a lot about creating moments periodically throughout the trail experience. And so this is sort of right there at that node of where Blake Park, we're at the bend of the river. So if you're standing on here and you're looking across, you'll see Lele on the other side. So the idea is to have kind of a viewpoints and engagement of both sides of the river. Here's kind of another look at that. There's going to need to be some seawall repairs. So because of the damage from the hurricane that area faced, we're looking at building something that kind of comes out, cantilevers over that, but integrates this into the improvement of the seawall there. A little bit of just about the living shore. Is everybody familiar with the living shoreline building? Like, again, this is the idea is to get away from seawall and have much more of a resilient space that can address wave dissipation and then also just flooding. And then also provide a space for public access and interaction, like you see on the existing east side. Public engagement is a critical piece of this. We have the Valerian group on that have been here embedded in this community for years, knows the pulse of it. So we feel really confident about this. A lot of, again, we're at a point now where we're moving forward. So we're not going out to the public to say, do you want this project or not? This is more about an informational exercise, just so people are aware. We know as we move into construction, there's going to be issues with again, we're going to minimize any of those disruptions, but maintenance of traffic, closures, those kind of things, detours. We're going to make sure that all of that information is out through the website and our various channels. And we're going to have a series of public meetings before as we move into the pre-construction phase of each segment, so that folks will know what's going to happen. A lot of outreach, a lot of key stakeholders. You can imagine we've gotten, I know a couple, last week you guys went out and met with all the business owners along the segments, so that they're aware of it.
This project is the fruition of many years of planning and input from the public.
Yeah, the original award was 2020, right?
Yeah.
I was talking about a trail on the west coast, on the west part back in 1991. So I've been interested in it for a long time.
So it's happening. And it'll
But
be done.
I wanted to ask, I want to ask.
Yeah, we'll get right to questions soon. I'll wrap this up. Again, here's our public website. If you go to West River Build on your phone, it will automatically ask you to download the mobile application. I guess the app stores changed some of that. So if you go to westriverbuild.com on your phone, it'll load this up and it'll say, do you want to download? I would say yes. And it'll create a new little app and you can go in and toggle notifications on and off. have all of the information on it, so it's a nice little repository for those that are no longer, using their desktop for things like this.
As you page through that website on your phone or your computer, at the end, there's contact information, an email address, a phone number. I don't know, they put comments right on the website. I don't think you can do that on the website. Oh, we are gonna be taking public comments at the meetings, so.
I got to download the mobile app, but it won't download, but I'll do one again.
Yeah, when you get into there, it'll be able to do that. So yeah, there's a mobile app, but we had changed it. We had some issues with the App Store, but now they've kind of changed that a little bit, but this will be an easy way, to do it. So once you do have it, share with your, friends and colleagues and say, go on here and, get engaged. And so all of the information will be on that mobile application website. A little bit about the project status and schedule. Again, we got this contract. The notice to proceed was issued last August. We're currently in this design and permitting phase. We anticipate having that done by September. Again, stakeholders will have their window to comment, as is the normal case with public projects. Our intent is to begin construction on the last quarter of 2025. Assuming all the permits are required, and that we're beginning with is segment 6, which is in Ridgewood Park. And I will.
That's the connection to the northern end of the eastern Riverwalk.
Yes, just I'll go up here. In fact, it's making me. So if you go up here again, see segment 6 up there, the yellow segment. So we're going to begin there. That's mostly, like I say, that neighborhood greenway project. That's the easiest one of these. We're going to begin with that.
Glenwood Drive, that neighborhood is going to become a bike boulevard. And there'll be trail along Ross and west of North Boulevard going under the bridge to connect to existing eastern Riverwalk. And one of the reasons for starting with that segment is that the water segments 1 and 2 that have bridges, et cetera, the permitting is more involved with the Army Corps, et cetera, so that takes longer.
Yeah, and I think that's really about it.
Let me add that Platt Street is going to have a protected cycle track, if you will. Platt Street is one-way eastbound. It's going to be on the south side of the roadway. There is one small segment near the railroad tracks that necessitated bikes and pets sharing an area for, I don't know how many, couple hundred feet.
Yeah.
And then they'll separate again. That would be one-way eastbound. And of course, cycles are allowed by state statute to be on the sidewalks as well. If you feel safer in that regard. Rome Avenue is going to have share the road markings where it's not quite wide enough. Bike lane where on either side where it is wide enough, and then at the north end, there's going to be a cycle share, two-lane cycle track. And then there's going to be a parallel pedestrian facility near the Rome Yard from Columbus Avenue South, and it gets narrower as you move toward Platt Street, only because the right of way is so limited. This entire project has to be done within the existing right of way. There's not a right of way phase. And it's federally funded, 24 million. Project's 56+ million. And the CRA is also contributing 10 million for part of segment 2, which is north of Cass Street, wraps around Lake High School's door, and then you can see where segment 2 tees into Rome Avenue at Palmetto. They're contributing 10 million. So any questions?
I wanted to ask you, Sally Thompson, I wanted to ask you if you're familiar with the Florida Gulf Coast Trail Initiative, which is a initiative from the Trust for Public Land is funding it. It's it's 7 counties going all the way from Collier County up to the Pinellas Trail and going through Tampa. And there's been one meeting so far, and at that meeting, the question was asked, where's Tampa? Because Tampa hasn't been involved. So I would love to get you guys plugged in if you're not, there's going to be another.
I'm personally not. and Haskell
Yes,
is not
yeah.
connected with this project. Do you know where it's supposed to pass through Tampa? I'm sure.
That's the question, several, and I've been sort of concerned because I chaired the City Greenways and Trails Committee when there was a committee.
Right.
And since the committee that was the early 2000s, so
Yeah,
there
they
hasn't,
merged now with the county's greenway.
well, the communication isn't there. So I've been concerned about the communication and I'm now chairing the county committee. I can't retire, what can I say?
Right.
But we need city representation.
Okay.
And we also need to get you guys plugged in to be supportive of this because the jurisdictions all along the West Coast are very plugged into these trails and greenways. And this is perfect.
Is it an FDOT? I know at the Florida Greenways and Trails Summit back in late January, I think somebody mentioned this. It was either, maybe it was.
So there was a
Secretary
summit.
Dan Dam or something like, I forgot who, but they mentioned that they were, FDOT was a big partner.
FDOT's been involved with Sun Trail, but there's
Yeah.
also the greenways part. So
Yeah.
it's,
Greenways and trails is predominantly our Parks and Rec department.
I know, but they're not,
And well, I can bring it to their attention.
Yeah.
And Tara, Lucky Kamal here is the manager of the transportation department. So we hear what you're saying. And if you want to give us any information.
yeah, I would. I'd love to get plugged in there.
Got a card? Business card? I'll give you my email address and you can send me whatever you like and get it in. the-
You've been at the city for a long time, right?
Yes,
Because you were there when I retired.
Yeah, early. I sat on this committee for years myself.
Well, I got on this committee when the city one folded. I'm in the city because I'm passionate about greenways and trails, so I'm very excited that finally on the west side, because that was kind of the missing link and
Yeah.
get it all close.
So it's gonna,
Very
the
cool.
new trail is gonna connect Bay Shore Boulevards, the linear sidewalk at the balustrade, south of Platt Street, up to and around the bend in the river where the Lake High School and Stewart is, back out to Rome Avenue. Now, there are the two private developers south of Kennedy. And the related group, it should be done a year after us, and we're still working with Nexstar, who has the WFLA site about their approval segment. So that's part of the reason also that we have flat and Rome, so we can get around those areas. So it's all. All right, any questions?
Any other questions? Well, thanks for joining us. It's a super exciting project, especially.
Yeah,
for
thank you
this-
guys. And tell, like I said, if there's any of your neighbors, friends, colleagues that want more information, we're having our kickoff meeting tomorrow at 6 P.M.
Yep. And the Blue Baptist, I believe the address is something like 1004 Cypress Street. I mean, that's right down my.
Yeah.
So.
Her email, I was writing the email address there for you. Okay, is that okay? Yeah, okay, perfect.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's move on to our last status report, and that is the City of Tampa Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Element Update. So I don't know if Jen Malone's online or you're going to do it. Okay, great. Thank you.
It's, well, that's what I mean. I'm the one
Hey everyone, I'm Danny Collins, I work for the planning commission, I'm filling in for Jennifer Malone tonight, I'm on Jennifer Malone's team, I'm also on the future land use update project team, and today I'm going to give you an update on the future land use update. So just some background, Hillsborough County Planning Commission is an independent consolidated planning agency. It's separate from the city of Tampa. It was established in 1959 by the Florida legislature. It serves the jurisdictions of Tampa, Temple Terrace, Plant City, and unincorporated Hillsborough County. And it acts as the local planning agency for all four governments, and it's the recommended bodies of local elected officials. And it coordinates the growth, transportation, environmental, and long-range planning for those governments. Just a Planning Commission is made up of 10 voting members, 4 for unincorporated Hillsborough County, 4 for the city of Tampa, 1 for Plant City, and 1 for Temple Terrace. These are all appointed by the elected officials. There's also 2 ex officio members that are required by state law. One is represents the school board, and the other represents McDill Air Force Base. So, what is a comprehensive plan? It is required by the state under Florida statute. The comprehensive plan guides growth and development in the city of Tampa over the next 20 years. It governs a wide range of policy areas such as land use, housing, mobility, open space, and the environment. Anticipates trends and addresses upcoming challenges. It also includes policies and maps that support community decision-making, and ultimately it's adopted by the Tampa City Council. All rezonings and developments must be consistent with the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan is made up of 13 sections, as shown here. We will be focusing on the future land use section, but just to give you some background, the wet water, mobility, and environmental sections were recently updated in 2023. We are currently updating the future land use, coastal management, housing sections, and we just kicked off our outreach as well for the remaining sections of the plan. So things are in the pipeline. So what is the future land use? It provides a long-term land use vision for the city. It designates lands, for example, for residential, commercial, industrial, and open space. It establishes development policies to ensure compatibility, manage growth, and protect resources. It also is different from zoning. It serves as a broader planning framework guiding future land use decisions. And a lot of people get zoning and future land use mixed up, so I kind of wanted to include this slide. So the future land use, again, is included in the comprehensive plan. The future land use section includes a future land use map. And on that map, it includes land use categories. And those categories establish maximum density, intensity, and use that can be considered on a given parcel or area of land. Zoning, on the other hand, is found within the Land Development Code, which is a regulatory document. The LDC includes the zoning map, which has a set of zoning districts, and those zoning districts have a more specific regulation standards, such as your building height, your minimum lot size, setbacks, and those sorts of things. Ultimately, the zoning should be consistent with the future land use category of the site. So this has been a collaborative effort. We kicked this off, I believe, back in 2022 or 23. So we've been working on this for the past few years. It's been a collaborative effort with the city of Tampa and the Planning Commission. Back in 2022, the City Council adopted a vision for the city. And that is shown here on the slide. Tampa is an inclusive, sustainable, and resilient city for the natural environment, historic character, and diversity of cultures, enable a vibrant setting for all. And the comprehensive plan builds upon this vision that was adopted by the city council. So this has been our update approach so far. This is a wholesale review and revision of the future land use section. Today, the future land use section includes over 21 goals. It is a very long document. There's a lot of redundancy. So overall, we're trying to streamline, consolidate, and update the language. It hasn't really had a wholesale review actually since 1989. So this is a big update for the future land use section. We've consulted outside expert review to look at the current adopted policies and to provide recommendations. We work closely with city staff and stakeholders, and we've conducted outreach at multiple phases, and we are continuing to conduct outreach. So far, we've had multiple visioning sessions and town halls for the comprehensive plan update. We've had stakeholder and community meetings on the future land use update. We've had interactive polls during those meetings, both virtual and in person. We have a project website which has regular updates and any related documents to the update. And I'll share that link at the end of my presentation. And on that website, there's also an interactive map which kind of helps illustrate some of the proposed changes that are being proposed. So far, we've had over 30 plus meetings and with approximately 700 attendees. We've reached a diverse representation of stakeholders so far. So we've met FAN, the Sierra Club, UB Tampa, Western Alliance, to name a few. We have upcoming outreach plan this summer in coordination with City Council. We've had actually an outreach, a virtual meeting that was held this afternoon. We had a meeting yesterday as well. So there's going to be more meetings to come over the next couple months. So what we've heard so far, some of the top issues facing Tampa's residents are housing choices, transportation, and housing affordability. We felt there was a need to further address environmental concerns, specifically coastal resiliency. There was support for development flexibility. There was a need for clarity and certainty in the plan. And also bonuses should have criteria for implementation. So as mentioned earlier, the current adopted comprehensive plan has 21 goals. A lot of those goals are kind of redundant, often repeat themselves. We've consolidated this proposed language to include 7 goals, and those goals are shown here. So goal 1 is related to promoting citizen participation. Goal 2 is our urban core by directing growth to certain areas and appropriate areas of the city. Goal 3 establishes our future land use categories. Goal 4 is supporting our economic assets in the city, so Port Tampa Bay, McDill Air Force Base, and also it includes policies related to industrial preservation. Goal 5 is our section on, or our goal on promoting, excellent urban design in the city. Goal 6 is protecting our historic resources, and then goal 7 is our resiliency policy, specifically related to managing growth in the coastal high hazard area. So we are proposing new place types through this update. So those place types, and I'll get into those, are regional activity centers, transit-ready corridors, and context-sensitive neighborhoods. We are proposing a bonus structure to incentivize a high-density intensity development pattern within our regional activity centers, and a mid-tier bonus within our transit-ready corridors. And there are 2 new bonuses for affordable housing green development that are being proposed, while existing bonuses such as the Sunbelt Heights Node bonus and the CBD periphery bonus, which are currently adopted today, are being retained. So regional activity centers, these are the Central Business District, the CBD periphery, the West Shore Business District, the Fowler Avenue Vision Area, and transit supportive development areas. So these are areas planned to support the highest concentration of housing. These centers have targeted bonuses and incentives to meet the needs of each regional activity center. And then our transit-ready corridors, as mentioned, these are being proposed to have a mid-tier bonus. And these are major roadways designed to support existing and future transit in the city. These are envisioned to connect neighborhoods to those regional activity centers. They provide a mix of housing, commercial services, and amenities that serve the surrounding neighborhoods. And these have categories that kind of encourage transit supportive densities along these corridors to help support transit that is currently there or in the future. And then our third place type is context-sensitive neighborhoods. These are primarily residential neighborhoods experiencing growth and development pressures. Often these areas are pre-World War II neighborhoods or historic areas. They might be urban villages. So these are areas that require thoughtful planning to ensure infill and redevelopment align with community character. New development should ultimately complement the neighborhood's architecture, size, and scale. So I'll show this map here. I'm not sure, kind of hard to see on the screen, but to kind of give you an idea. Again, our regional activity centers, we have the Central Business District and the periphery. We have transit supportive development areas. So these are areas where might have fixed skyway in the future. I think the Tico streetcar is included in this area along Channelside Drive. We have the West Shore Business District here, and then the Fowler Avenue visioning area. We have our transit ready corridors, which are shown in blue. So those are, I think, of Florida Avenue, Hillsborough Avenue, Dale Mabry, those are transit ready corridors. And then this pink are our contact sensitive neighborhoods. So again, as mentioned, we're proposing a new bonus structure through this update. It provides public benefits essentially in exchange for bonus. So if you, an applicant can come in and ask for additional density intensity in exchange for a public benefit. So the city would get a public benefit. So it greatly increases the role of affordable housing provision and qualifying for the bonus. More future land use categories are included in the bonus structure, and also it reduces the need for plan amendments. So here's kind of a graphic to kind of show how, like an example of how the various projects can achieve the bonus. So up in our top left corner, we have our 3 bonuses, or I like to call them bonus awards. So the first one's affordable housing. The second one is a transit bonus, and then the third is the green development bonus. So ultimately, you can stack those or combine those up to the bonus ceiling here. So this is the maximum you can achieve for density or intensity through the bonus. So you can, again, bonus one, they're just doing the straight affordable housing bonus up to the future land use ceiling category, future land use category ceiling. And then project 2 is combining bonus, the green development and transit bonus. They're not required to go up to that ceiling, but they have to be below it. Project C is exceeding the ceiling, so this would not be allowed. And then project D is combining those 3 bonuses up to the future land use category ceiling or bonus ceiling. We're also making revisions to kind of simplify our future land use categories. So this is an example of how we're changing some of the changes to the community mixed use category. So today it's kind of confusing. The community mixed use 35 category allows 30 dwelling units per acre without a bonus, with the potential to go up to 35 dwelling units per acre with the bonus. And we're dropping that 35 because there was confusion as to why it's 35. So instead, we're proposing just to change it to community mixed use. Also, as a way to we're reducing the density and not allowing bonus in the coastal high hazard area. So today, if you're in the coastal hazard area, you can ask for a bonus up to 35 dwellings per acre. If you're in the coastal hazard area, the maximum you can get is 30 dwellings per acre. If you're outside the coastal hazard area, you can do 35 dwellings per acre with the potential to go up to 70 dwellings per acre. So those are some of the changes to the categories. This is just an example of community mixed use 35 category, but there's some other ones that are proposed in the draft. We also are promoting neighborhood mixed use development through this update. Today, the neighborhood mixed use future land use category can only be considered in the city's growth areas. So urban villages or employment centers. We thought it was a good idea to, rather than limit it to certain areas, to kind of allow an applicant to come in to ask for that category citywide. Again, this is your small scale neighborhood mixed use, like think about an office, a small cafe, something like that. It kind of supports the neighborhood. And again, those would be limited to appropriate areas, but they could be applied citywide. We're also promoting neighborhoods serving commercial uses, so we're expanding locational criteria to include sites with frontage along 2 collector and/or arterial roadways. So again, think of like a residential office or a cafe or use that serves the neighborhood. So we're trying to promote more of that, neighborhood mixed-use developments, in the city. Through our outreach, we've received, feedback on housing needs, so we're responded to right to missing middle housing, such as townhomes and duplexes as the most needed housing types in Tampa. We've also held stakeholder listening sessions, which revealed a broad support for a range of housing types along corridors and within neighborhoods. So again, think of the promoting that more than missing middle housing. And then with that, taking that into consideration, we're proposing language that clarifies existing language around single-family attached housing in the residential 10 designation. And we're establishing criteria for the location of single-family attached housing in the residential 10 designation. So today, if you're approximately, I would say a majority of the city is designated as residential 10. So this is your typical single-family detached, 10 units per acre lot in the city. Within that category today, you can be considered, the comprehensive plan allows an applicant to come in anywhere in the city and ask for like a duplex or a townhome if they meet the density of that category. But the plan does not specify the exact locations for where those areas would be. So essentially, this is what is shown in the plan. It's limited townhomes and duplexes. It's very vague. It's then kind of hard to kind of identify those areas where townhomes or duplexes are appropriate in the residential 10 designation. It just generally encourages them to be located in appropriate established neighborhoods, single-family neighborhoods. So with that, we thought that we're establishing this criteria to kind of identify where those areas are appropriate. So if you're within the residential 10 designation, and you front a collector or an arterial roadway, that might be an appropriate location for these uses. If you're adjacent to a higher density intensity future land use category, or if you're within a transit ready corridor or a transit ready corridor boundary, those are areas. If you're in a residential 10, you would have to be one of those criteria to be considered for like a townhome or a duplex if you met the density of the category. There are some additional requirements proposed, so it cannot exceed the 0.8 FAR. So basically, this is limiting the size of the units. Ultimately, the design must reflect the scale, massing, and style of nearby structures and maintain neighborhood the neighborhood character. And I do want to mention, we are still workshopping. We're still working through a lot of these policies and taking in feedback from the community. But I just want to kind of go through what is shown, what's proposed today. Again, we're taking in or input on all of this. I'll skip ahead, just might be easier to show. So the coastal, today, one of the issues, it's always, the comprehensive plan kind of discourages and seeks a no net increase in density within the coastal hazard area. So coastal hazard area, is this area shown here in yellow. These are areas that are vulnerable to coastal events. And today, the plan just says no net increase in those areas. These areas also include, the West Shore Business District, pretty much all of downtown, Channel District. So there are some areas that may, we've seen Channel District kind of evolve over the years. And so there's been some conflicting policy direction over the years in the comprehensive plan. So we're trying to clean that up a bit. So we're proposing this concept of coastal development areas. So essentially, if you are within one of these areas shown in red here, so think these are our CRAs, West Shore Business Districts. And then there's this area down by McDill Air Force Base just to the north, which has remnants of industrial within a residential neighborhood that we probably don't want typically don't want industrial uses in a residential neighborhood. So these, if you're within one of these areas, you can ask for plan amendments that would increase density. Or else you would not, it would be, you would not be able to ask for that increase in density. So going back to kind of, we've had multiple iterations of this policy over the past few months. I kind of want to kind of give a timeline of how those policies have changed. So when we initially proposed a prohibition on plan amendments that increase density within the coastal area unless you're within one of those coastal development areas. We brought that to the Planning Commission board on April 7th. They had some modifications. They thought that there should be, they kind of disagreed with the idea of having a prohibition, and there should be a way for an applicant to ask for an increase in density. So we modified the language to kind of basically say no plan amendments for parcels within the coastal area shall increase the maximum residential density or residential density beyond the density or density allowed for the future land use category. Also, we added the West Shore Business District at the direction of the Planning Commission Board at the May 12th hearing. So the coastal development areas map, and at the May 12th meeting, they also asked us to add the Rocky Points area within the West Shore Business District to the coastal development areas. Again, here's the map. We are also refining existing policy direction related to our strengthening our economic assets. So think of, again, Port Tampa Bay, McDill Air Force Base, TIA, and our industrial lands. In today's plan, there's a lot of redundancy in policy, and the plan ultimately tries to, it says that we should protect all industrial areas. And there are areas like shown in the previous slide that are within, for example, residential neighborhood where industrial is no longer viable. We've created this concept that proposes a new industrial preservation map to identify the specific industrial areas we want to protect. So this proposes a clear criteria to identify future industrial areas suitable for preservation and expansion. So here is our proposed preservation map. So it mostly consists of the Port Tampa Bay Activity Center, as shown here. And this is actually part of the Port Activity Center as well, down by Port Tampa City. So if you're within, these are areas that we want to preserve and protect industrial lands. There are industrial lands up by the just south of the university, on the south side of Pollard. We are proposing some specific policy work regarding the Fowler Avenue study as well through this update that kind of lays out how we should encourage development along that area. We are also enhancing historic preservation through this update. So we're refining existing language for clarity in historic preservation policies. We have removed redundancies in existing language. It maintains protections for Tampa's historic districts, cemeteries, and historic resources, and ultimately promotes compatible development along the periphery of historic districts. So again, next steps, we're doing a series of outreach updates over the next couple months. I included this QR code to sign up for emails and updates. So if you sign up for that, you can get updates on upcoming events, important dates, when these items might go to the hearing. Again, we really want your feedback. So, I strongly encourage you to have feedback to submit comments in writing. You can submit it to planner@planning.org, and that is shown up on the screen. The next review is by Tampa City Council on August 28th. So we have a couple months before this goes back to City Council for their review. And again, I mentioned this earlier, here's a link to our project page. If, again, this has everything as far as, our future land use assessments on there, the multiple iterations of drafts, our presentations, workshops with the council. So I was strongly encourage you to visit that link. I believe this slide is dated. And that's it. That concludes my presentation. I want to thank everyone. Thank you for that. And if you have any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? I guess I have one. I'm not an expert on land use, but maybe you could help us tie it back to the focus of this committee, which is bicycle pedestrian use. Is there any direct or indirect influence on active transportation and as part of land use?
There is, I mean, as far as the land use, as far as the future land use goes, again, we're trying to encourage, transit supportive densities along those transit ready corridors, so there can be bus routes, transit routes, to kind of create maybe more viable and to support future transit in the future. There's a section, I know that is in the works, the recreation open space section that talks a lot about bike trails and greenways. And that is currently, they're taking that outreach. I think they're starting to do the outreach for that. So they'll be updating that section. And I know I had mentioned the mobility section was recently updated in 2023. So, and I know this is a living document, so there'll be, for every bike year, updating these sections.
Thank you. Any other questions? Great. Thanks for joining us. Okay, so that is the status reports. We're going to move on to old business and new business. So first is Ben with membership applications.
Yes, so we have, I think, one new membership application pending so far. I can't remember. Are you online at the moment?
Scared.
Yeah, won't be long. Maddie, are you online? There's only next time.
Okay. Is that something we can do during the workshop as well? Or can we invite her to the workshop as well?
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think. What's an interesting fact? My first BPAC meeting was a workshop, and I had no idea anything about what BPAC was, and that was the address listed on the TPO website. And it showed up. I think they were like, "Why are you here?" And but it was, it's a more informal, comfortable people to even showing up at especially to our community. So yeah, please and invite them. Thanks. Okay, next we're going to do the updates from the city and the county. So, John, I know you weren't prepared for one, so I don't think you have one, but just in case, are there any questions for John? So John's taking over for Tim as the alternate, at least temporarily. And
Yeah, if you have something, I'll go back and find out and bring it back.
yeah, the one thing I mentioned was the Twig Street project. They just had a public meeting on that, and I think accepted feedback at the beginning of this week. So sure, what maybe just to touch on what the outcome of that, if there's anything to report. Thank you. And then Chris isn't here, but he gave you some topics. So thanks for being patient.
Absolutely. Shared with me a few updates. So Upper Tampa Bay Trail is open again, all 7 miles. 2 bridges were repaired, and trail has been thoroughly protected from areas of heavy erosion between Sheldon and Waters. The second update is Commissioner Hagan confirmed that the county budget includes funding for the Upper Tampa Bay Trail gap through construction. Third update, continuous trade counter at Upper Tampa Bay Trail near Citrus Park Mall is active. More coming soon. I believe more calendars will gonna be used on other trains. The last update is segments of Tampa bypass canal trail and South Coast Greenway were included in the list of priorities approved by the TPO board.
That's good. Well, thank you
Thank you.
I did see the announcement about the trail
Yeah.
bridge opening, so that's exciting.
And the Hillsborough Greenways and Trails Committee has been, quarterly meeting has been rescheduled to the 16th of July
Oh, okay.
here in the county center.
Okay. Is there any other new business? Yes, all right, being none, we are adjourned. Thank you all. Oh, and next month is our workshop, we're gonna be here.
Yeah,
So,
same place.
thanks. All right, thank you.
Okay.